is Kurt, and I'm laying down, and because I don't have a couch yet, and I actually like to lay down on the ground, so it's fine. But I was reading this person, I don't know how to say his name, but it's like Nietzsche. I want to say Niet, but it's not that. A Nietzsche, that's how I'm gonna say it. I think it's more like Nietzsche, but we'll see how I say it throughout this video. And this is a collection of his writings, and I really liked the beginning. Um, the beginning was on truth and lie in a non-moral sense, and it talked about how words aren't really representative of reality in and of itself. They're just a metaphor, a human created metaphor for real reality. Um, and basically, humans are the only ones that can relate to that reality. And even further down, it's really only humans that speak the same language as you that can relate to that your reality. That's why you have culture shock when you go to different cultures, because the realities are so uh, different because of the languages that you're speaking. I have culture shock when I talk to everyone because my language is so different from everyone else's. Just kidding. I understand other people's languages. They just don't get mine. But then I got to, which I really liked that passage, of course, because it's just affirming what I know to be true. But he also said that like truth doesn't really exist in any finite sense. And you kind of have to accept that you'll never know the real truth and just go with the flow. Um, this is from Beyond Good and Evil, which is another one of Nietzsche's writings, and this one really got me. Not in a good way, in like a, oh my god, he's making fun of me sort of way. And I like don't care that much because I like to be made fun of. I like to make fun of myself. So it doesn't really matter, but it literally is it's just I'm reading it because it it really comes at me, and I want to read it and then understand and sit with it. So that's what I'm gonna do. After such a festive entrance, a serious word is in order. It is addressed to those who are most serious. Beware, you philosophers and friends of knowledge, and guard against martyrdom, against suffering for the sake of truth, even against defending yourselves. It spoils all the innocence and subtle neutrality of your conscience. It makes you headstrong against objections and red rags. It dumbs you down, makes you brutish and bullish. If when battling danger, defamation, suspicion, expulsion, and even meaner consequences of animosity, you wind up having to play the role of protectors of truth on earth as if the truth were some harmless and clumsy person in need of protectors, and you of all people, you knights of the most sorrowful countenance, which is making fun of Don Quixote. I love Don Quixote, even though he's such a fucking asshole. My dear loiterers and cobweb spinners of the spirit, in the end you know well enough that nothing hinges on whether you are proved right, indeed that no philosopher has ever been proved right, and that there might be a more worthy trustfulness and truthfulness in every little question mark you put behind your favorite words and beloved doctrines, sometimes even behind yourselves, than in all the solemn gestures and trump cards played before accusers in courts of law. No, step aside, run to the shadows, and have your masks and your finesse, that you may not be recognized, or that you may be feared a little, and don't forget the garden with golden trestle work, and have people around who are like a garden, or like music on the waters in the evening when the day has sunk into memory. Choose the good solitude, free, playful, lighthearted solitude, which might even give you the right to be good in some sense. How poisonous, how cunning, how bad every protracted war that cannot be waged with open force makes us. How personal and protracted fear makes us. A protracted spying on one's enemies, on potential enemies, these outcasts of society, those long hunted, wickedly persecuted, the forced recluses, the Spinozas, always in the end become, albeit in the most spiritual guise, and perhaps without knowing it themselves, sophisticated revenge seekers and poisoners. Let someone unearth the foundations of Spinoza's ethics and theology, not to mention the clumsiness of moral indignation, which is a sure sign that a philosopher has lost all his philosophical sense of humor. The martyrdom of the philosopher, his sacrifice to truth, brings to light the agitator and the actor in him, and if one has hitherto regarded him with more artistic curiosity in the case of some philosophers, it's not too hard to understand the dangerous wish to see them too in their degenerating into martyrs, crying out from their stages and rostrums, except that with such a wish we must be clear about what we will get to see, just a satyr play, just an epilogue farce, just more proof that the actual long tragedy has come to an end, assuming that every philosophy arose as a long tragedy. So basically he's saying that you can't be a philosopher and a martyr. But I want to be both. Just kidding. I don't want to be a philosopher. I'm not a philosopher. I'm a logician. So was Spinoza. To logic we die. But I'm also an intuitive logician, which Nietzsche says in an earlier passage in this book that they are strictly opposed. So I guess I'm just a contradiction. But you know what? The universe is a contradiction. So I contain multitudes. Fuck with me. That's how I feel. That's my quote of Walt Whitman. It's like a quote. It's a slight quote. But anyway, that's how I feel. I don't really care about Nietzsche because he said this is for serious people and I'm the least serious person in the world. But he really came out at Spinoza, and Spinoza's like my good buddy because he's a strict determinist. Now, Nietzsche is a compatibilist, which means that free will and determinism can exist as one. And that's just like one Google search. I don't actually know if Nietzsche is a compatibilist. I could be wrong. But let's just go over like the compatibilist theory because I think I've started to take that as what I believe because I'm a strict determinist. I think that everything is determined from in the universe because it might be non-determined like in the future to you, but as you get there it's like you're just flowing into one hole. There's one possibility and you take it because your mind's configured in such a certain way and everything else around you is configured in such a certain way. And I mean, this is quite clear for people without large degrees of freedom. Like Elon Musk used to say, like, I'm not a huge fan of Elon Musk, but I'm just saying, like, he used to say that, like, freedom is the ability to choose, have the most choices. And I'm saying that those choices, like, they don't really exist in any real sense once you get there. But I do believe in non-determinism, and I think I've probably lost some people here, but compatibilism is the idea that you can't have free will. And and I don't know if I strictly believe in free will, but perhaps what I'm trying to say is like I believe that you experience it. I can't take that away from you. And I feel like if you rip people's free will from them, they just start doing crazy shit. And then I'm like, well, see, I told you you didn't have free will, and then you did that crazy shit, and you only would did it because I told you you didn't have free will. So perhaps it's for the best that people, and that's been the constant thing. Like the church doesn't wants people to believe in free will because then they can make people believe in oh, they need to have goodwill to, if you tell people they're determined to do so, well, then whose fault is it that they did a bad thing? It gets hard to punish people if you tell people they don't have free will. And I don't really believe in free will ever, so I wouldn't call myself a compatibilist, but I understand the sentiment because as there is such a time period where, since we experience the passage of time, we aren't like looking up without time down on everything else, because that would be like us experiencing the universe as a whole. Then time wouldn't exist, everything would be determined. But since we're in a particular space and time, there's space. Yes, yeah, that's a pretty good way to describe it, Kurt. Um, there's this whole cone in front of us that can take so many different paths. So, like, the future is non determined to us, but once we get to the future and it becomes the present and then the past, it's necessarily determined. So, I'm basically saying that things are non determined to us and only us as we see it. But then once they come into being, they necessarily are determined. And I'm more of a eternalist. I think that everything in time has all the same characteristics, so that everything is determined, and it's just like a block time. Um, but anyway, that's Kurt's thing on compatibilism, but you experience non-determinism as some form of free will because you're the thing that's doing the determined thing, and you're experiencing, and that's the contradictive nature of the universe. So when I said that I'm a contradiction and so is the universe, well, non-determinism equals determinism, all equals one, energy equals mass, Atman equals Brahman. There's so many contradictions. The universe is just full of them. And when you start to realize that the pieces of the puzzle are such that both pieces can fit in one space and they contradict themselves, but they're both right, then the universe really starts to open up. And you start to see things as they are. So, what is truth? Which one is true? Well, why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos? Anyway, that's kind of how I feel. That's my philosophical rant of the evening. But Nietzsche definitely he just that Comedy Central thing roasted. He roasted me. He doesn't even know me. Nietzsche's dead, but the man sure knows how to roast. Cause I'm just walking around saying I'll be crucified, but I'm gonna say the truth. See, I'm not really like holding my I'm not saying I'm just I assume that people are going to martyr me. So or say no, he's wrong. So I'm gonna continue saying same shit. Stop labeling trans baby cis. P equals NP. Fuck with me. I don't give a shit. It's just the way shit is. And I don't gotta defend the truth because the truth's gonna continue to exist. It don't gotta be me that says it. It don't gotta be me that says it. I don't care. I don't know why I started talking like this. I'm a country hick. I'm a country hick. I'm a country hick. I used to get made fun of in the country for having a country accent and that I talked super slow going into school in the north, and people used to think that I was stupid. And then I was like, no one's stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. But anyway, I don't think anyone's stupid. I think that everyone's just good at different shit.